Today, we're going to start another chapter, which is the project cost management. In this chapter, we will cover some of the concepts related to cost, and also we will go through the process of managing project cost. Cost is something that you give up in exchange of something else. So you sacrifice some of your resources to get something else, an object or something. This sacrifice resource mostly is monetary units. Can measure it by money, dollars, number of dollars you spend for that thing that you want to acquire or to hire. Some measures could be related to time, and time can also be traced to money. So mostly we measure cost by money. Now the process of ensuring that all the required costs or budgets for the project is called the project cost management. You need to ensure that whatever you are going to plan to spend on the project, you need to ensure that it is really spent on the project and according to a schedule that you are going to develop, and it has to be approved by some of the stakeholders, like the sponsors or the owners of the project. And we have talked earlier about the variances, where you compare between the plan and the actual work. And in cost is the same. In budgets, you have budgets, and budgets are plans. And then you have the actual cost, actual expenses that you spend. Then you compare them according to the timeline that you have, and you see if you are meeting the plan or not. So the basic processes in cost management process of a project, we have these four main processes. You need to plan for the cost management. You need to estimate costs, and you need to determine the budgets based after estimating the cost, and then you ensure that the budget is followed, and you control any changes happen, anything goes wrong, you do some corrective actions, and you return back to the budget, to the plan. In the planning cost management, this is part of the project management plan, and basically you state the policies, the procedures that you follow, okay, to plan, to execute, and control the cost of the project. In estimation, you develop some estimates. These are approximation. They are not accurate, but they have some rationale behind them. And these are the estimates for the resources that you are going to use in the project. Then after that, you need to determine the budget, and this is by allocating the overall estimated cost. You allocate it to individual items that you are going to do in the project, and we call this the baseline. Okay, and here we always have this overlap that we talked about earlier with time and with scope. In scope, you develop the work breakdown structure, and at the same time, in time, you assign some dates to all the subdivided tasks. And now, in the perspective of the cost management, you also need to add the budget for these items. So I'm not talking about a sequence. It's not sequenced and you have to do this and then this and this. No, you can do them all together at the same time. You start with building your breakdown structure and adding the resources, adding the times, adding the cost to it, and like this. Controlling, you control any changes as we said earlier. This shows a summary of the cost management processes. You can see we have the 4 processes. 3 of them are in the planning and 1 under the monitoring and controlling phase. In planning, the outputs will be, as mentioned, for the planning of the cost management, you will have cost management plan. And as I mentioned earlier in other knowledge areas, this could be a separate document or a part of the project management plan, which is the master plan of the project. The estimate cost, this is the process you are going to estimate, but what you're going to get, you will get activity cost estimates. The output will be a document, a list of activities cost estimate. You get basis of estimates. How did you estimate that this will cost this, this will cost this? So you have to give the rationale between, about how did you develop these figures, okay? And it has to be documented, and I'll show you an example later on. What do you mean by this, okay, or how you represent it in your schedules. And also, you update any other document that's related to cost. Determining the budget, the output of this process will be a cost baseline. You will have something similar to a schedule with time schedule with costs assigned to each of the tasks related to the time. And I will show you this later, inshallah. Okay. Project funding requirements. If you need some special requirements or you need to have a clear funding plan or document from where you're going to get the fund, how you're going to spend it during the whole period of the project, and on what task that you're going to conduct. So the cost baseline and the project funding requirements are closely related. Then project document updates, that any document that has something related to the budget, you need to update it. And then in the cost control, the output will be the work performance indicator or any information, which are indicators that you follow. And these are generated once you start executing. Before execution, you don't have any information of the performance. But when you start working, we see your performance and then we can judge. So these are the measures that we obtain, or indicators that we get from the execution. And usually it comes like a report in like a hard copy report. And if you have a system, project management system, an application, then you will receive these as reports and maybe some kind of notifications, okay, like, or gauges of like a dashboard that shows all the performance indicators or measures. Cost forecasts, also you need to develop some forecast of how the cost is going to be in the future or any down the road in the project. If there are any deviations from the plan, the baseline of the project, especially the cost baseline, any deviations, you need to correct them. And these corrections are changes. Changes need to go through the procedure of changing request. So you issue a change request, and then it goes through the procedure to review this change. Before doing the change, you need to review it. Someone will need to review it. And we mentioned earlier that there's the CCB group. They will look into all the change requests, and then either they will approve it or they will reject it. If they are approved, then you need to ensure that you implemented these approvals, these changes, approved changes, and document them in a proper log. If they are rejected, then you don't do these changes and you try some other solutions. You update the plans. If there is any change, you have to update the project management plan and any other plan related, and any other document related to the project as well. And the organizational process asset updates, we talked about this in chapter 4. You also need to update this document if there are any changes happen to them. You lost an asset, you created some new assets, and this is the cost of these assets. You can add them to these documents. Now, monetary aspects of the project usually has good understanding by the executive management, the executive people in any organization. They have this kind of good understanding of financial terms. But in IT, because many of the project managers became project managers after spending lots of time in developing software, writing codes, and working with technical details. And some of them, they lack this information. Therefore, we always want to ensure that anyone who's going to work on a project need to have some basic understanding of the business terms, or the basic terms of business that relates to cost, expenditure. And even in the discipline, or in your discipline, the ITIS bachelor degree, you are going to study accounting, economics, management. You need to have these because this will give you good understanding of the business. When you apply the technology in a real business context, you need to know these, and that's why we introduce these in your program. Similarly, here in the project management, we need to understand what is cost, what is profit, what is revenue, and all these things. You need to know them in order to understand the business that the project is running in. So these are some terms, and we will also cover some other terms later on in this presentation. Projects has, in a way, they will have some kind of expenditure. Okay, this is the cost. They also have some kind of revenue, some rewards coming for the work that you do. And anything that comes as a reward is called revenue. And the revenue is not profit. The revenue is it's the in cash that you receive in exchange of completing the project, or completing part of the project, or performing a service with this project. So this is the revenue, and the money that you get is not the total revenue that you receive is not all, and you cannot consider it as profit that you can utilize as, this is my profit, I will spend it on anything. No, you have to deduct from it all the costs that incurred when you develop the project, and these are the expenditures. So one thing that we do is that we deduct the expenditure from the revenue to get the profit. Okay, so this is, many people, they don't distinguish between revenue and profit. So this is the difference. Profit is the difference between revenue minus expenditure. The profit margin is a ratio of profit that you receive, and it is calculated by dividing the profit by the revenue. Okay, so let's say that if the revenue is 1,000 dinars, okay, just an example, and your expenditure is 900 dinars, so your profit will be 1000 minus 900. This will be 100. So the profit is 100 dinars. Now, if you want to know the percentage, the profit margin of this profit, you divide 10, which is the profit, by the revenue, which is 1000. And this will give you 10%. So the profit margin is 10%. So when you talk about profit margins in business, it's very important because, for example, if you have any project or any business, okay, you have a restaurant, you have a shop or something, or you sell something. When you sell, you need to put some kind of profit margin for you. If I sell this item, I want at least to receive 20% profit margin. Okay, so you add this percentage on the expense, how much this item cost you, and you add the profit margin, and that will be your profit. Okay, so if I say that my profit margin is 20%, I need to get 20% as profit margin from my business. Otherwise, I'll be, why I'm doing the business? I need money, la? So if your item costs, say, 100 dinar, then your profit margin is 20%, then this means that you need to sell this item by 120 dinars. Okay, 20 dinars is your profit margin, and like this. The life cycle costing, it considers the total cost of ownership. Okay, so the project will have some costs when you start developing. If you are, for example, you are developing an application. Okay, so this application development took you 6 months. Now, during this 6 months, you spent some money on the license, on the computers you used, on the developers you hired. All these are costs. Okay, we call them the development costs. So this is part of the ownership of the application. To own this application, you need to develop it. So any cost related to the development is considered as part of the life cycle costing. Also, the support costs. After finishing the project, still developing the application, you still need to spend some money to maintain it. Okay, to do backups, to people who are going to run this application, not developing it, but using it. Okay, the operation people. Then these are costs also. So support costs. If any thing that required to modify the application, again, any cost related will be considered as support cost. So this support cost plus the development cost will be considered as the life cycle costing. We also have the cash flow analysis, and this is very important for the project because in the project, imagine that you have a project that has 1 million dinar, a project that will cost 1 million dinar. And the sponsor will sponsor you for this project. Don't expect that the sponsor will give you the 1 million dinar at the day one of the project. It doesn't work like this. There will be a schedule of payments, okay, and it will be decided based on your estimates and your budgets that you're going to create in this process. And then you're going to receive the money based on your progress on that timetable, or the timeline that you specified. So if you are required to, if you distributed this 1 million over, say, 10 months, okay, and if you distribute it evenly, just this for the sake of this project, this example, so it's just even, so it will be 100,000 each month, okay, for 10 months. Now, if you didn't spend, or if you are going to work for the first month, you will get 100,000. Okay. Now, if you didn't spend the whole 100,000 in that month, you're not going to get another 1,000 in the second month, because you still have some surplus in the previous. So they won't pay you the complete 100,000 in the second month. They will pay you, for example, if you have 10,000 remaining, they will pay you 90,000, and like this. So this is just example. Other examples also, another scenarios possible also. But what I want to say is that you need to ensure, or you need to know when you are going to get money in the project and when you want to spend them, so that you don't reach to a point where you spend all the money and when you need them you don't have them, because it's not the time yet to receive the next cash in the project. And that's why we need a cash flow analysis to ensure that we have all the costs, and we are going to distributed along the timeline of the project, and when we are going to use them. And you will see this in the schedules that we will show in a minute. Now, this is an old example, but I like to include it in all the semester that I teach. This is an old study in 2008 conducted by the Standish Group International, and even though it's old, but I think now if you look at how do we depend on systems and computers, I think the cost now is double, maybe. Okay, so just to show you or give you an example, the cost is not just something that you spend, but also money that you spend, but also some acts that happen. If, for example, if you get a downtime in your system, you are using applications, IT applications, and if one of these applications, these are used to generate money, your customers are using it, or your employees using it. So if it stops functioning, then there is a cost of that downtime. And this report tried to study this and come up with some calculations. And this is for the US market, but it applies to any other country. So here you see that, for example, security trading systems, these applications, they allow the shareholders to buy and sell shares in markets. If these applications stop from running, it will cost $73,000 per minute. Imagine, it's only for 1 minute this system goes down, you lose $73,000. ERPs, similar. In 1 minute, if it stops, you lose 14,800. Okay, and this is based on the market, the US market. Okay, order processing. If you have any order processing application, this is what the estimate says. Look at the ATMs. Okay, automatic teller machine. You will lose $3,600 just because you didn't. Your ATM was not running for a minute. Imagine if it stays for 1 hour. You multiply this by 60. Okay, so this is good information to know. Now, when we talk about costs, we also talk about benefits. So it's either costs or benefits. Cost, something that you forgone, and benefit, something that you get. There are 2 types of costs, and I think, 4 types of costs, and you can add to them also the 5th, which is the sunk cost. But I think if you took the accounting course, you got some idea about the tangible and intangible. Tangible costs are those costs that have the ability, or they have the capability to measure them in a unit, and mostly in dollars. Okay, because we said that cost is usually measured by dollars, by money. So if you can measure these costs by dollars, then you can say that this cost me 2 dinar, this cost me 5 dinars. Then this is a tangible cost. You can quantify it. Intangible costs, these are costs that are difficult to measure. Okay, like for example, reputation. Can you measure reputation? It's difficult to measure. I'm not saying that you cannot measure it, but it's difficult to measure, and it is subjective. Okay, it's not objective like products. This product costs 1 dinar. Halas, you know that. If you have 20 of them, then this costs 20 dinars. But when you talk about reputation, it depends. Any product reputation. Let us say cars. Yani we know that always we always have this idea that German cars are better in quality. Okay, so reputation wise, it has good reputation, so the cost of these cars usually high. In our region, maybe any Japanese cars more, the Toyota or Lexus, these have more reputation. So you can see that the reputation of these cars here is very high, so that's why their prices are high. Even if you want to buy a used car, you will see that it is expensive. If you look at some other cars, they don't have good reputation here. They don't have market actually even to buy and sell in Bahrain. But if you go some other countries, they are very popular there, and they use it, and they depend on it. I have this example because I saw, for example, you know, the Subaru car. It's a Japanese car. Subaru here, it's not it's not famous here, not popular very much. People they buy, but not, you don't see much of them on the streets. But when I was in Australia, I see it everywhere. It was very they have other cars, but I see it was very popular there. So this depends on the reputation that they get and other things also related to the performance and also maintenance. But this is the intangible cost. It's something that it's difficult to measure. It's judgmental. It's not something that you can quantify easily. Then you have direct costs and indirect costs. And these costs are, from the name, if it's something that can be directly related to the products and the service that you provide in your project, then these will be your direct costs. If they are directly, if they don't have any direct relation to the product, but has like an indirect way, they affect but not like, for example, if you are producing material, okay, anything in your company, the cost of the material that to produce this product, let's say you're producing mobile phone. So the plastic that you use, the ICs, the glasses that you use, anything that you use to produce this phone is part of the direct cost. But for example, the electricity that you pay for that room or for that factory, this is indirect cost, because it's not related to this phone only. No? You are producing other products, computers, other models of this phone. So you cannot directly relate it to this phone. Okay? These called indirect costs. Yeah, you use it, you need light, you need air conditioning to produce this phone. But also other products share the same thing with you. So the cost is related, or it affects you, but it's indirectly. You cannot. So that's why we have the overhead. We estimate the whole overhead cost, and then we divide. We create some kind of a formula to distribute this among all the products that we produce in this area. Okay, but that's something else you don't know. Then you have the sunk cost. The sunk cost is all the costs that you incur before starting the project. Think of it like if you want to develop a car, okay? You want to manufacture a car. Before you start manufacturing and selling, you need to ensure that there is a good market for it. La? So therefore, you're going to do something called the feasibility study. Now, this feasibility study, you might bring a consultant to help you. You might do it on your own. You hire someone. This will cost you some money to look into the market, the demand, people preferences, any other aspects, the welfare of the market. These things will cost money. Now, this cost is not included in the project cost, but it is a cost. So we call them the sunk cost. Okay, you pay them before the project starts. Okay, maybe you will incur this cost. You will do the feasibility study, then you will see that this is not a good product to produce. Then you just stop. You don't start the project. So this is not part of the project. It's just cost that you spend from the your organization budget. If you decided to go for the project after this feasibility study, still you're not going to include it in the budget of the project, because the budget will start later. When you start the project, it will have its own budget. So you don't put these costs with the budget of the project. Other principles that you need to know also, and I think maybe you covered this in economics, learning curve theory. Now, the learning curve theory is simple. It's just, you need to understand that if you do something repetitively, you will be skilled in it, and then the more you do from these, the more you do from the producing, or the more products you produce or units produced by this, the cost will go down. Okay, and I can give you an example to show you how the cost is affected if you repetitively produce something. Since we are in Ramadan, I think this example will be relevant. You know the sambusa, when you maybe the girls here know more about this. When you want to wrap this sambusa, okay, you want to do this triangle shape. If it's your first time to do it, it will take you maybe 1 or 2 minutes to wrap one piece of sambusa, right? That's because you don't have the skills. You don't know how to do it. You will do it one time, it will open, it will not be wrapped properly. Then you will continue another one, third, second, third, fourth, 10, 20 pieces. Then you will master this wrapping. Then your 10th piece will take less time than the first piece that you did. That's because you accumulated some skills. So now your time is less, okay, to produce this. So when you take less time, this means that you're going to produce more. So this is also related to cost. When you are producing a product, okay, if it takes you 10 days to produce this product, I need to pay you salary for 10 days. If you can finish it in 5 days, then I'll pay you the half of that amount, right? So this is how it's related to the cost. So the learning curve theory stands on this base, that the more items that you produce, the less the cost will be. Okay. Then we have the reserves. Now, reserves is the amount of money that you assign or part for some contingency of future situations that you don't know about. Now, when you say we don't know, there are two ways or two types of unknown things. In reserves, we have the contingency reserves and we have the management reserve. The contingency reserves are those reserves that you reserve them for future situations that they are partially planned, and you don't know when they are going to happen, but they're going to happen sometime. Okay, and we call these the known unknown. Okay, so it is known that they are going to happen, but we don't know when they are going to happen, so we have to reserve some money for them. Once they happen, we can pay them. This is the contingency reserve. For the management reserve, it's a little confusing here. It's for unpredictable situations, and we call them unknown. So we don't know what are these, and we don't know when they are going to happen. Okay, so we don't know what's going to happen, but we just keep some reserve. If something wrong happened and we didn't plan for it in our baseline, then we can use it. In planning, this is the first process. Planning, we have some things that we do or we include in the plan, in the cost management plan. You need to, as we mentioned this earlier in the time management, you need to specify or list in this document the level of accuracy of the unit that you're going to measure. Are you going to use some Bahrain currency, US dollar currency? You need to ensure what units you're going to use. Are you going to use the monetary base units be based on your local currency or other currencies of other branches that you have or something like this. Also, the accuracy here is like, are you going to show all your budgets in very detailed units? You will say, for example, this will cost us 200 dinar, 300, 200 dinar, 25 and 25 dinars, 325 dinars, or you just say in the schedule it will show only 300 dinars. Okay, it's just like on approximation, or you are going to show by the budget by millions or by thousands or by what. So this has to be mentioned in the plan. Also, some other procedure that relates to or cost. For example, if you want to buy some items or some, say you'll buy servers for your project. Now, buying the servers, it has to follow some purchasing procedure that the organization has. So you need to say that, okay, if you are going to spend anything about equipment, on equipment or on devices, then we need to follow the organizational purchasing procedure. Okay, and you can link this, you can refer to these. And there are others like the rules and threshold controls, and you assign some thresholds on some of the budgets. Now, we cannot exceed this amount. خلاص, if we are going to buy servers, we assigned until 10,000 dinars we can spend. Other than that, we cannot. So this is your threshold. Rules also for performance measurement. You need to measure your performance, how much you are spending, and this has to be reported, how it's going to, when it's going to be measured, and reporting formats, how you're going to report it. And then you have process description. If you have anything that you want to explain for related to the cost, then you should also describe it here for your team or for the sponsor as well. Just give me a second. Okay, so let's continue. Estimating cost. This is the second process. The estimating cost is a way that you estimate roughly how much this will cost and how much this will cost. And in the project, there are different types of estimation. Okay, here, for example, this shows here some types of estimation. You have something called the rough order of magnitude, you have the budgetary, and you have the definitive. These are in three types, but every organization have their own way of estimation. They might follow these, and they might also have some other different types. Okay, but these are the common ones. And when you we classify them here just to show the accuracy, because estimates are not accurate, okay, but you always try to reach to an accurate estimate as much as you can. So and this depends on where you are in the project. Usually in the early stages of the project, you don't have that clear understanding of what's going on, or the task that you're going to do. Not all the projects, but usually projects are a little uncertain. It has this ambiguity in it and uncertainty. So in the early stages of the project, usually your accuracy is not that much. So the difference will be like 50% to 100%. And you might say that it will cost 10 dinar, then it will cost 100 dinar. Okay. If you say it will cost 10, it will cost, say 20 dinars or 25 dinars. So the difference is too much. But when you say it will cost 10 dinar and then it costs 9 dinar, so that's similar, or 11 dinar, it's close to it. Okay, so this is the accuracy that we talk about here. So in the rough order of magnitude, you will see that the accuracy here in the fourth column, it's minus 50% to 100% plus. So this is the difference. And if you say that this will cost me, and you estimate that this will cost 100 dinar, then it could be 100 dinar, it could reach to 200 dinar. Okay, so double, 100%. Or it could be less bad, 50 dinar, it could be. Here, because we don't know yet, we're in the beginning of the project. In little further in the timeline of the project, when you start the project, then you have some other better estimates when you get the budgetary estimates. And this is more accurate than the previous one, because it comes after estimation. When you start creating your baseline, cost baseline, you start having these accounts or these items. You distribute the estimate on these items. And in this stage, in some organizations, or most of the organizations, they rely on quotations that they have, especially for material or for items that they're going to use in the project. They rely on quotations. Okay, these quotations have some figures, and they have they implement the three quotations. So you ask for 3 quotations instead of 1, and then you when you budget, you take the average. So your estimate here will be based on some real figures from quotations. It might change, but not much. And for example, the vendor will change the prices or something like this. The difference will be not much. So the accuracy you see here is like from minus 10% to plus 25%. So it's less than the previous one. Then the definitive, this comes at a very late stage in the project, when you start execution, basically. And this is definitive from the name. It's definitive when it happens. So the accuracy here is high. There are little differences, maybe 5 to 10%. And this is maybe due to some unexpected cost. Like, for example, you already had the quotation for the servers. It will cost 10,000 dinars. So you know the quotation, you have the quotation, vendors, fine, you confirm this price. But what happens is that this was before introducing the VAT, for example. Okay, الضريبة المضافة. Okay, ضريبة القيمة المضافة. So when you reach to the point where you order this these servers and they will deliver them, now they say, okay, now the price is the same, but now conditions changed. You need to pay or extra the 5%, the VAT. So this will increase your budget for this item by 5%. And this is the accuracy that we are talking about. So your accuracy is, there might be some differences, but it didn't exceed 10%, 5% only. So this is the estimation. Okay, you can have also more types, more ways of estimating, but these are the three common ones. Here, for example, another way to estimate the FTE. FTE is the full-time effort. We know that the time spent in work can be converted into money. How many hours you spend, how much we pay you per hour, then you multiply this by the hours that you work, and then you get the cost. So one thing that organizations do, or projects also do, is that you see who's working in the project, okay, and you count the FTEs, the full-time effort. Okay, so you have two developers, they work full-time. Then this means that they work 8 hours per day, and so for 1 week they will work for 40 hours. Okay, so 40 hours, and if you have 4 weeks in a month, so this means that 160 hours. So when at the end of the month you pay them 160 times how much you pay them per hour, say 20 dinar, then you multiply 20 by 160, and then you pay them. So that's the cost of them. That's the FTE cost. This example here shows that, for example, people works in the information system in the first year. Now you estimate, so you have to have a budget for 5 years. If you are running a long project or an organization, you need to have long budget forecast. So or estimation. So here you have the first year, you will hire, or you need 24 full-time employees. In the second year, you need to increase them. Third year, you will increase them to 35. Okay, but after that, you don't need them. Maybe the project is completed. Now it goes into another phase. So now you need less, 13, and then it will continue 13. So this might be like for just operation and maintenance. So here, you know your budget based on the effort that you are going to have. Similarly for the marketing, reservation. Okay, so when you place your budget for year 1, it will be different than year 2, different than year 3. Okay, so this information is helpful. Now, estimation techniques, there are many also, but these are the most popular 3 techniques. You can have the analogous, or what we call the top-down estimate, and this is basically simple. You just look at similar project, you look at the actual cost of a similar project you did previously, and then you take this as your estimate, okay, your base estimate, and then you start distributing that cost on the work or task that you are going to do. So that's why we call it top down. You have the total, and then you distribute it to the lower items. Then you have the bottom-up estimates, and here what you do is that you go to these particular tasks that you're going to do, and then you assign costs for them. Okay, and then you sum up. You sum these up until you reach to a total of the project. And there is the third one, is the parametric modeling. Parametric modeling, it uses some parameters or characteristics of the project, and we use a mathematical model to estimate these. Okay, so there's a calculation. You calculate, and then you can estimate the cost of this thing. Okay, it has a formula to do it. And this is for engineering and projects, and some other also business projects. They use these. Now, what problems do we face in cost estimates? Usually, you always have this rush in the estimate required. So you always need to do the estimate quickly. So if you do it quickly, you didn't give it much time, so you might miss some of the important costs. Okay, so it happens that your estimate is not accurate because of this. Then you have people lack estimating experience. Some people, they don't know how to estimate. Okay, and you see this in even with your friends in university, for example. If you I noticed this a lot with my colleagues. Some of my colleagues or my friends, not in the university, my friends, when for example they estimate the time that it will take them to come to meet me in some places, they don't know how to estimate. They say, okay, I'll meet you after 1 hour, and he comes after 2 hours. Okay, so he's not good in estimating. Other friend, he's very good in estimating. He says, okay, we'll meet after 1 hour, and exactly when after 1 hour sharp, he will be there. Okay, because he estimated the time that he need properly. Okay, it's based on his experience with the roads, some other bad things affects his estimation. So this is people sometimes they don't know how to estimate. Someone, for example, you want to build a house. You say, well, how much do you think it will cost me? Well, it will cost you maybe 50,000 dinars. This is wrong estimation. You cannot build a house by having 50,000 dinars. No? So this is the estimation. Okay, the difference between people. Some will know how to estimate, some they don't know. So as a project manager, you need to have some experience which will help you to improve your estimation. Also, one thing also that affects also the estimation here is the bias. People usually, this is human being nature. Usually, if you want this project to happen, or to convince the owners to do the project, you sometimes underestimate the costs just to show them that it is doable and we can do it and it's affordable. But this bias is not good, because you're going to underestimate the cost, and then when you start the project, you will face a problem. And these problems are sometimes might not just delay the project, but it will cancel the project. Okay. Then the last point here is the management desires accuracy, and this always contradicts with the first one. The management wants accuracy. Okay, so whatever, because it's an estimate, it's not accurate. So it's always problematic with the top management. These are not accurate. Try to make them more accurate. But this contradicts with the first one, because we are always rushed. They want everything quickly, but they want it also accurate. Okay, so you need to have balance between these. Okay, now this is an example of the cost estimates. Now this is how we estimate cost. On the left here, you can see there is the work breakdown structure, the WBS items. Okay, project management, hardware, software, testing, training, and support, right? And then you see there are some units, counts of units, then some counts of cost, dollars per hour. Then you have some subtotals, and then you have some summary of some of the items in the work breakdown structure, and then you have the percentage total. You can see this. This is very okay. So this is very helpful to know, and from looking at this, I know that I have 960 hours. The project manager will work for 960 hours, and his hour will cost 100 dinar, $100. So I'm going to pay $96,000 just for the project manager. For the project team members, I have total of 1,920 hours of work, and total of the work that they are going to do, and I'm going to pay them $75 per hour. So you multiply it by the units, and then you get the total, which is 144,000. Okay. Other contractors will pay them 66,300. Okay. And the total of these, the project management cost, will be $306,300, and this is the level 2 total. We do the same thing for the rest, and you can see that the percentage here, it will show you, and from this you can see that 40% of my budget will go on software. So the software will take a large portion of my budget. Salaries will take around 20%. Okay, hardware, we are not going to use much hardware, just handheld devices and 4 servers. This is only 5% of the budget. Okay, and you can see at the end here, we have 20% of the total estimate. That's going to be for the reserve, for contingency. Maybe something goes wrong. We have some, that's 17% of the budget. Okay, so this is how you create your cost estimate. Okay, and we have some more details also coming. Look at this. It's for the same project, or maybe something. No, this is another way of, or another example. You can see here that this also shows the estimation also, but it has more data related to the calculation. If you see the last column, you'll see that there is some calculations. So here we show how did we come up with these subtotals. Okay, so it's simple. You just multiply for the contractor labor, for example, you multiply the hours, 3,000 times 150 per hour. This will give you 450,000. Okay, and it's shown there. Sometimes you can show these. Sometimes you use some other say parameters or other calculations. Okay, for example, here we use quantity and conversion factor. Okay, so you multiply the conversion factor with the quantity, and then you get the points. You have so these are points, and then you can convert these points to dollars. And some items you just have estimated figure. Okay, assumed figure. You cannot calculate it, but you show that this is the sum of this, or it's like a lump sum amount. And some of them, you have like a calculation, like productivity times KSLOC to the power of penalty. Okay, so this for 1 month, and this you can explain this further in another document if you need to explain it. Otherwise, if it is known in the industry, then you just use this, and this information will be sufficient. Okay. So after estimating, you need to assign these estimates to the items that you have in your work breakdown structure. And this will be your budget. This will be your baseline. You have to stick to this later on, because this is your time-phased budget. And you will see this now. coming slide. Okay, this schedule, you can see, look at this. It shows the budget, total budget, and it is distributed among the time of the timeline of the project. So this project is 1 year project, 12 months. So you can see that you have 12 columns here from 1 to 12, and the items are on in the left. You can see, for example, that project manager. Okay, now this goes back to this example. Remember this one, this cost estimate. Now we will distribute this. See here, the project manager. Let me use the. Okay, the project manager total cost is 96,000, right? So we will distribute this in the table here on this one. Okay. So here we will distribute the 96,000. Look at it here on the 12 months. So we're not going to take the 96,000 and give it to the project manager at the beginning of the project. And we cannot say that we will not pay you until you finish the project. After 1 year, we'll pay you. So we need to distribute it. So every month we'll pay him 8,000. Okay, this is how you do the budget. Okay, then you have to stick to this. Yani at the end of this month, you need to only spend 20,000. This is the total of this month. You cannot exceed. Okay, if you exceed, then you have some deviation. Okay, then you have to see why this happens. Okay? Look at the handheld or the servers. Okay, for the servers, okay, we're not going to pay anything in the first 3 months because we don't need them. We are working on something else. Okay, we're working on the software. So we are going to pay 8,000 in April when we place the order, and then we pay the 50% remaining when we receive the order. Okay, so you place the order, let's say in the beginning of April, they will deliver it in mid of May. So in May, you'll pay the 8,000 just to place the order. When they deliver it in May, then what happens? You're going to pay the 8,000. Okay, maybe the delays happen, so they are not going to pay deliver it in May. What you do is that, and this is what why we have the schedule, and we always monitor it and control it. They will say, well, we have delay, we will deliver it on July. So you will shift this to this column. This is the changes that you do in the budget. Okay, and some projects you need to get approval for this also. Okay, this change. So this is how you control your. Remember the cash flow analysis that I talked about in the beginning. You need to know how much you are going. This is your the cash flow. This is the out cash flow. This is what you're going to pay. Okay, so you need to ensure that there's an in cash coming in January that's equivalent to this. Otherwise, you'll have problem. You cannot pay the salaries. Okay. Here, for example, you need to have $223,027 in cash, so that you pay all of these. Otherwise, you're not going to pay for the handhelds. You cannot pay the salaries. You cannot pay for the license. That's stated here. Okay, so this is why we have this, because in this month I need, for here, for example, I need to have in cash of this equivalent amount. So this is how it works. You can see that in some months you have no costs here related to the training costs or any other item here. Okay, this is how, and then it's all sum up here. So here you have, this is the total budget, 1.5 million approximately. These are the total based on the items or the tasks that you're going to do. These are the totals based on time. Okay, and like this. Controlling, as I mentioned just now, you monitor the cost performance. Anything goes wrong, you need to act to rectify if something goes wrong. Better plan, change your plan, do some changes in the budget, get approval for more extra budget, something like this. Okay. So you always need to revise your actual work with the baseline. And if there are anything that will affect the project and something serious, you need to also inform the project manager, the stakeholders. The project manager need to inform the stakeholders. They have to be aware if there are some maybe economic conditions that will affect the project, something a big loss that you had. It all has to be reported to the stakeholders. The EVM, Earned Value Management, this is a technique that you use to measure your progress, but this is not just in terms of cost, it's also, it includes the scope and time. And this is a very important technique and very useful, and it is considered better than the progress performance that you are, if you follow only the schedule. If you only follow the variances that you get from the time management, and you are meeting the deadlines or not, this is not sufficient, because you might meet the deadline, but you spend more budget. So that's not good. No. If you follow the cost estimate only, okay, you did not exceed the budget, but if you look at the time, you are behind the schedule. So again, this is not good. Or you met the deadline and you didn't exceed the budget, but the scope that it was required is not done. You did only 50% of what was required. Okay, and imagine like if you are building a building, okay, 12-story building. You reach to the deadline and you didn't exceed the budget, but you finished only 6 stories. You didn't finish the whole building. You can say, well, we finished the project on time, and we didn't exceed the budget. Yeah, but you didn't build a 12-story building. You built only 6-story building. Okay, so that's scope. So the problem that if you look at one only, you will find other thing, and you will miss other things, other aspects in the time and the project constraints. Therefore, the EVM came as a solution for this. It considers all of these: cost, time, and scope. And it takes into consideration the baseline of all of these 3 things, and also the actual performance that's happening. In the Earned Value Management, I have another. It's not here. Yeah, I have another slide. I will send it to you to explain this. It's a detailed example. Now we don't have much time, so I don't want to take much time from this lecture. But these will be explained: the planned value, actual cost, earned value, and how you calculate them. I will post another slide. It's self-explanatory. I explain everything in it. You can go through it. Okay, and you can still, if you have any doubt, anything, you can just ask me. So I will skip this part now. So it's basically, this is how you look at the EVM. You have the actual cost, which is the dotted line. Okay, yeah, this one. And you have the planned value, which is this one. So all calculated, طبعا. Okay, and you have this bold dotted. This is the earned value. Okay, so this is what you earned from this project. Okay, this is what you planned for. This is what you spent, and this is what you get only. So see, you spent more than what you earned from the project. Okay, so this will be by explaining in the other slides. Yeah, so the last thing here is that using software in cost management, using software will help you. For example, the estimates that I showed earlier, the budgets, you can use spreadsheets, or you can use some other sophisticated software to help you in documenting the budget and also maintaining it. Okay, you can also use, for example, Microsoft Project. Okay, it has the same capabilities. You can have the resources, budgets, and you can it will show you the variances. Everything is there. In larger organizations, they can use also portfolio management software, where it shows all the necessary information related to the budget, not just for the project, but for the whole projects of the organization. Okay, yeah. So this is this chapter. We will stop here.